Hey folks, Max from Fish Meat for Dinner here. Today we got something kind of special. I kind of want to break down how to troll for walleye. I've done a video of it in the past, but that was a long time ago. Really didn't do that great of a job explaining all the different factors that factor into trolling for walleye. So, in the whole concept of things, I'm just going to break down every step of trolling. That way you can maximize your fishability the next time you try the technique out on the water. Without further ado, let's get into it. I got this handy dandy little presentation here. We can go through it. So, first of all, equipment, you're not going to be able to catch fish without a rod, a reel, whatever. So, the rod that I use and that I recommend is a 7.5 to a 9 foot medium heavy. And a really good rod that I recommend is a St. Croix Icon Walleye. They have good warranties, just overall good rod. Um, for reels, personally, I use the Daiwa C line, um, and you want to have a line counter on your reel. It's very important to know how far out you're letting out your bait and your planer board and all the other factors. It just gives you a good peace of mind and allows for that accuracy and repeatability of setting your baits. So the gear ratio that we like to use is a 4:2 to 1. You don't want to be horsing those fish in. Just seems to be right about the right speed. For line, use 10 to 20 pound monofilament, and the most popular is in the picture up there that I provide, and that is the Berkeley Triline XT in the 10-pound test. I like to run either 12-pound test or sometimes 15, just in case you get the occasional pike or muskie on, or even like a catfish, and you may risk losing a bait, as well as it just kind of gives you a little bit of variability in the depths, since the lighter your line is, the higher it'll run, and the heavier your line is, the lower it'll run. So you gotta think about that. All lures are usually tested with 10-pound monofilament line. So basically, if it says it runs 3 to 5 feet deep, that's with 10-pound monofilament. So if you make your line heavier, it'll actually dive deeper. So then you're going to want planer boards for trolling. The offshore OR12 planer board is the best for walleye. So you can see on the diagram here, there's the mini planer. Some guys use that for like trolling for trout and whatnot. But the OR12 is the one that you're going to want. That is the side planer, and you can get different kits to modify them, but that seems to be the one that's the best. And then the Pro Mag planer is the one that's more for the salmon and musky guys. It's the beefier version. Then we'll talk about bottom bouncers a little bit. Bottom bouncers obviously bounces out the bottom, allows you to get your bait near the bottom. Very effective in deeper water. Then clip-on weights and keel weights. Keel weights you only really use with crawler harnesses, and the clip-on weights you can use with either. Just allows you to run at the variable depths. And then there's a rock runner bottom bouncer, which is also a very good one to try. Shields brand snap weights seems to be the most reliable, and then Bass Pro Shop keel weights are pretty good as well. So one thing I recommend with trolling is the Precision Trolling app. Now, it's a company that documents the diving depth of popular fishing lures, such as crankbaits and common trolling hardware, such as diving planers and also sinking lines like lead core. So I'll play a little video here, but just a little brief background to it is when you're trolling crankbaits, you generally want to troll at speeds of like 1.6 to 2.3. Personally, I like to be in between that at about 1.9 to 2 miles per hour. Now, they do have a device that you can hook up to your kicker motor called, I believe it's Precision Trolling as well. And that just allows you, it's a dial, and it really allows you to hone in on whatever speed you may be wanting to achieve. But without further ado, we'll play this video, and give you a little brief background on the Precision Trolling app.
Check out the Precision Trolling app. In the app, you can select a line out to get your dive depth, or you can select a targeted depth and get the amount of line to let out. There's also data on diving devices and lead core, available for both iPhone and Droid. Precision Trolling data will help you catch more fish.
Right, so obviously you have a guy that knows what he's talking about. That's Gary Parsons, one of the best walleye anglers in the world. So he backs this stuff, so it's pretty legit technology. What you should know, though, is you can buy packages of lures with the Precision Trolling app, so it'll be around, like, I think it's like 25 to 50 bucks. You get like a package, so that way you can see every type of bait and whatever, you know, what depths and all that good stuff. Or you can pay, I believe it's like $1 to $2 per bait. So say you really like running Berkeley Flicker Shad number 5s. You just pay $2 and you can see where you got to run them at based on the depth. So really useful tool, and really helps in the accuracy and being able to repeat and have a program to catch these fish. So then obviously you're going to need some baits. So the baits that I like to run is the 700 series Reef Runner Ripstick. That's kind of like an early season to late season. It's a really big bait. It's this bait right here that I'm highlighting with my cursor. That's my favorite color right there. I call it Wonder Bread. But this covers a lot of different colors in the color scheme here. Just seems to be a really good fish catching color. Then I like the Berkeley Flicker Minnow, Berkeley Flicker Shad, which is one of the most popular baits in the last couple years here. The Rapala Shad Wrap number 5, number 7, and they have a jointed version as well. Rapala Deep Husky Jerk, Smithwick P10, which are gaining a lot of popularity. That is this bait that I'm highlighting right here. It's kind of covered up by my video capture here, but that's okay. Bandit Deep Walleye, Selmo Hornet 4 and 5. These are really good at the beginning of the season to match the small bait fish. And then the Walleye Diver, which is this, and the Hottentot here. So we're going to play another short video here on the Berkeley Flicker Shad, just to give you some more background and some knowledge on these baits.
So what we did with Berkeley is designed a new crankbait called the Shallow Flicker Shad to do that, just that, fish up shallow. Now the Shallow Flicker Shad comes in 2 different sizes. It comes in a smaller number 5 and then a little bit larger number 7. The number 7 was designed to have an action very similar to the regular 7 Flicker Shad. Got a great top to bottom roll. It's got a good rattle system in it. It's going to catch a lot of fish, especially the little bit more aggressive ones. Now if the fish are in a little bit of an off mood, you got a cold front or whatever coming in, and you need a little bit more subtle action, that's where the number 5 comes in. A little bit smaller bait and just not quite as much roll to it, but still a really good rattle in it to attract in those fish. Now those rattles also do another thing. Even though these baits are fairly small, they cast like a dream. The weights and rattles transfer in here so that you get good casting distance and cover a lot of water. If you're casting, obviously what you want to do is look at your depth and see how deep you got to go. If you got to go down, say to 3, 4, 5 feet, then I would say a 7 is a better choice. Typically when they're up shallow, they're very close to the bottom, so you want to get down close there. If you're up shallower than say 3 feet, then obviously the number 5 is going to be a better choice for you. Now if you're out trolling, there again you want to get the baits down close to the bottom, but the bottom only might be 4 or 5 foot deep. Then you want to actually use the Precision Trolling app and look up and see how deep the baits go. So for example, that number 5 Shallow Flicker Shad, it'll go down to 8 foot deep with 90 foot of 10-pound out. If you go to the bigger number 7, the max depth it'll hit with 10-pound is 11 foot deep. Now, that sounds pretty deep. You said, I'll catch the fish up shallow. Remember though that you can let out less line, maybe put it out on a board or whatever, and actually fish up shallower with these bait. I've fished them even in 2 or 3 feet of water. So we've been testing the Shallow Flicker Shad for a couple years now. I've caught tons of walleyes on it. It's now out there ready for you to catch a walleyes and catch those walleyes up shallow.
All right, so there you have Keith Cavallas, another well-known walleye fisherman and close friend to Gary Parsons. They really know what they're talking about, and you can see he went back to that Precision Trolling app, So extremely valuable tool to be using, and there's a lot of variability. You can play around with stuff and really get a good plan in on what you're going to be doing to catch these fish. So then we're going to talk about crawler harnesses. You know, this is a slower way of trolling and can be very effective. This is big on the Great Lakes, and we don't really use them here by us in the Winnebago system as much because we have a lot of sheephead in the system, and sheephead seem to love these. But you can either buy a crawler harness or you can make your own harness. You can see this harness diagram here. So you could buy the whole thing as it is, or you could make it just with beads, hooks, a leader line, and then buy the blades separately. So the trolling speed that you want to be at is a lot slower than your trolling speed with crankbaits. You want to be at about 1 to 1.3 miles per hour, so quite a bit slower. And then also this clip here, you can see here's a metal clip. We call it a clevis. You can get plastic ones and wire ones as well. So that allows you to change the blade, and there's a lot of different shapes and colors of blades as well as types. So these are hatchet blades here, and behind my capture here I have a whole diagram, but there's a whole lot of different blades. You can look into it. So then we're going to go on to trolling patterns. Now the trolling patterns are actually very important. First of all, you want to troll with the wind generally if you can. This allows just to have smoother setup. You won't have to worry about your boat turning and over crossing your lines. You want to get the boards as far away from the boat as possible, and you want to set them up in a way that it's kind of branching off in an equal manner. You can start to turn, and it'll have variable speeds on each side, and that can trigger bites as well. So that's a little tip. You can also run them at variable depths to have, say, like your inside ones, you probably generally want to run deeper, and then the outside ones you want to have them more suspended. That way if there's fish suspended, you can catch one and reel it over the other lines and not have to worry about them interlining and having a big tangled mess. So that's very important. The trolling patterns, you can see the diagrams I have here, and you can pause the video, kind of learn some, but I'm going to keep moving on. So kind of also talking about the navigation and turning and direction. When you're trolling, you must make turns slowly to eliminate lines colliding and tangling due to the slack in lines on the turning side. So they will actually overcross each other and you'll get a big mess. So make sure your turns are slow and gradual. And then it's best to troll with the wind because when you troll into the wind, it's a lot harder to navigate your boat and control your boat. Your boat's going to want to start turning, and say you turn around, swapping out crankbait, your boat, and you're by yourself, your boat may just full on turn around, and then you have a big tangle mess. So it's just easier to go with the wind, and it allows your boards to gradually go with the waves instead of bashing in the waves, and then on the turn end of that, your lure is just going to be going crazy. So that's what I recommend. It'll allow your baits to swim a lot more naturally and just overall just be a lot more comfortable experience, and you're not going to have to deal with all the different annoying things with tangles and whatnot. And a lot of things that the pro walleye guys do is they utilize their front electric trolling motors, and that just allows them to steer their boat while their kicker motor or their main engine is the actual propulsion of the boat. So a lot easier to steer from the front of the boat instead of having to mess around at the steering wheel. A lot of the guys will wear the fobs or the remotes, and then they can just make subtle adjustments by the touch of their hand while they're doing whatever they need to do at the back of the boat. So I'm going to play another video here that kind of goes over that.
First is speed, the second one is obviously the steering. So for speed, what you really want to do is, I like to use my kicker engine. You know, typically we're going to be up in that 1.8 to 2 miles an hour. Maybe if it's cold out, you can go a little slower. If it's the middle of summer, a little bit faster. But what I like to do is set my kicker so it's pushing the boat just a little bit slower than what I want to be running the baits at. Then what I do is I use my electric trolling motor in the front. You know, 30–40% is going to be plenty, but that gives me that little extra speed. That way, if all of a sudden I get around a corner and the wind starts pushing hard, I simply slow down my trolling motor and I can pull back down to that speed I want. If all of a sudden a gust of wind is coming at me, I can speed up a little. So this one's giving me the steady speed. The electric trolling motor is giving me the fine adjustments. Now the second thing is that the depth control is real important. When you set your baits out there, you got them set to run a certain depth. You want to try and hold that depth with the boat as much as you can, because it keeps them baits in the zone that much longer. So what I want to do here is, again, just use my electric trolling motor, because there I can make real quick adjustments with the bow of the boat, and of course the back of the boat will just follow it. If you're using your kicker to actually steer, it also works, but you're going to find you can't make quite as quick of an adjustment. So bow control, critical for this kind of fishing, as it is with most walleye fishing. But if you use the combo of your kicker motor for speed control, and then that trolling motor in the front for the fine tuning of speed and turning, you're going to have it made.
Right, so he was actually utilizing that control knob that I was talking about. It's called the iTroll. I was corrected. And that allows you to get your speed at what you want. But like he was saying, you can use that trolling motor for fine adjustments on your speed or direction. And overall, it just makes it a lot better experience. So, we're going to end this off. We got some resources to learn more. As I reference in this video, I reference a lot of the Next Bite videos that they have. So check their videos out. Their YouTube's a great source and has all kinds of information on all types of walleye fishing, not just trolling. Then Tom Boley on YouTube is also a very good, knowledgeable walleye fisherman. Big water fishing, he does a lot of the Lake Erie stuff, and he covers a lot of good information. He's a well-known guide out there. And then Angling Buzz, they cover a whole lot of walleye fishing information, and is just a really good source to go check out. So check these guys out. Thank you guys very much for watching. We'll see you guys in the next video. Hope this made you learn something, and hope you have a great rest of your day. See ya.